بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعين به ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تبارك وتعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله تعالى فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تعالى، وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. نسأل الله العزيز الغفار أن يجيرنا وإياكم من عذاب النار. ما زلنا في اسم الله الفتاح. نسأل الله تبارك وتعالى أن يفتح علينا وعليكم بكل خير، إنه ولي ذلك والقادر عليه. To still with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, al-Fattah. And if you remember, we said that al-Fathu يعني القضاء والنصر والحكم. Al-Fath that we talked about, the aspect of it that we talked about means al-Qada, judgment. Allah Ta'ala judges between the people. When Nasr, Allah Ta'ala gives victory to the believers. And Al-Hukm, that He Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is the one that rules Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. وَيَحْكُمُ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. He rules and He judges between the people on the day of reckoning. As for the other aspect, the other meaning of Al-Fath, وَهُوَ نَقِيدُ الْإِغْلَاقِ, that's the opposite of the opening as opposed to closing. And it's a tremendous door in this particular meaning, subhanAllah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يفتح على عباده في العلم وفي الحكمة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens the doors of knowledge and wisdom for some people as opposed to others. You find some people, for example, that are in the same halaqah of ilm, and one person understands things perfectly. Allah Ta'ala opens the doors of understanding for him, and another person has difficulty, or in a school, or in a university, and so on and so forth. People, Allah Ta'ala gives them understanding more so than others. وَهَذَا فَتْحٌ مِنَ اللَّهِ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى. Imam al-Qurtubi rahimahullah ta'ala قال إن أنبياء الله يكونون على أعلى درجة من هذا الفتح. Verily, said the prophets and the messengers of Allah have the highest level when it comes to this fatah. Meaning Allah Ta'ala gives them the understanding of His deen more than any other person. ثم أولياء الله ثم الصالحون. Then the allies of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and the righteous people. ويتبعهم في ذلك عامة المؤمنين. And then after them comes the regular believers. The more the belief, the more the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the clearer the heart is, that the more Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does al-fath for someone. He opens the doors of understanding and the doors of subhanallah, learning. And as you know, some of the scholars of this ummah were absolute geniuses. Allah Ta'ala gave them a fath that when you read about it, you think it cannot possibly be real. The fact that Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala, at 9 years old, he already finished the Quran, and at 9 years old, he was actually inspired to learn the hadith. And at that particular age, he said he was 10 or 11, he's sitting in a halaqah of hadith, and this a big scholar of hadith, big muhaddith. He's given the hadith from memory. And we're talking the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ with the chain of narration, the long chain of narration all the way to the Prophet ﷺ, and giving the students from memory. And some of the students were also scholars of hadith. And the Sheikh gave a chain of narration. Imam al-Bukhari is at 10 or 11 years old, said, no, that chain of narration is wrong. You know, like Yahya did not hear from Ibrahim. He did not hear from him. Like, what are you saying, boy? He underestimated him. He said, as I told you, that chain of narration is wrong. And if you want, go back to the book and check it. So he said, okay, hold on. He goes inside, he looks at the book, and he comes back. What did you say it was, boy? I said, the chain of narration should be this person and this person. He said, yeah, you're absolutely right. I was wrong and you're right. After that, Imam Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala, whenever he attends any halaqah of ilm, and the scholar that's giving the halaqah sees him, they start shivering. They're like, if I make a mistake, he's going to catch me. So I better be 100% correct. I mean, he was 11 years old. Is that not fath from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If that's not fath from Allah, I don't know what is. At 19 years old, he had finished learning from every scholar in his area. And he started traveling. And subhanAllah, at 19 years old, he wrote his first book. وسماه التاريخ, he called it التاريخ, the history. The history of what? It is a book that specializes in the chains of narration. Every single person that is in the chains of narration of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, their whole history. All of it from memory, and he wrote it while sitting in front of the grave of the Prophet ﷺ. He wrote the Sharifa. So, and this book to this day, for you to read and understand this particular book, you have to be of the highest caliber when it comes to scholarism. You cannot just be any sheikh or any scholar, just pick up the book and read it and understand it. It's pretty complicated, and subhanAllah, it's pretty accurate. If that's not fath from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I don't know what is. Yani this man, if I wanted to tell you about the kind of fath that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him, we'll stay here all night. I'll give you a couple more. The fact that it was tested. He went to an area of the world, and everyone is hearing because he became famous in Bukhari. By the way, another one, real quick. When he went to study in Medina, his classmates, they all have their books and their notebooks, and they're writing every single word that the sheikh says. They write, and he's just sitting there. They started giving him a hard time. You give your spot to somebody else because you're wasting time here. Why aren't you writing? And he wouldn't say anything. They did it over and over a few times, and he got mad and said, you know what? Open your books. Okay? And he told them verbatim every single thing that the sheikh said from day one. And actually some of them corrected some of their mistakes that they wrote from what he said from memory. They tested him somewhere. Everyone was here in Bukhari, and then they said they brought 100 scholars, and each one of them was going to say hadith, and to see if he knows that hadith or not. To test his knowledge. What they did, they will keep in hadith you have a sanad wal matn. A sanad is the chain of narration, and a matn is the actual text of the hadith. They will take the sanad from, for example, one hadith, and then give it to another matn. And they mixed all the mutun with asanid. So scholar number one said, حدثني فلان, and he started giving the hadith. He gave him the matn, but he gave a chain of narration of another hadith. Bukhari said, no, I don't recognize the hadith. Then the second one did the same thing. I don't recognize the hadith. Third one, he went through all of them 100. In all of them he said, I don't recognize the hadith. So these people, and there are people, a lot of people watching. This isn't Bukhari that the people giving us a headache about. He doesn't know anything. He said, but the hadith of this, number one that you said, the chain of narration is actually in the hadith number 70. The hadith number 2, his chain of narration is in the hadith number 66, like a computer. And he put all the chain of narrations back where they belong from memory. He actually memorized all the mistakes that they made and corrected each one of them. If this is not fath from Allah, I don't know what is. I'll give you one story. As you know, Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala spent his life collecting the hadith of the Prophet. He was on a boat, traveling somewhere, and with him there was a surah, a little surra. They used to put money in a surra, like a little bag. And it was 1,000 golden coins, 1,000 dinars. And 1,000 dinars back then is a fortune. And it took him a long time to gather this money because he wanted to spend it on some students of knowledge. To kind of sponsor some students of knowledge so they can relax and learn without having to worry about who's going to feed them and so on and so forth. So they were in the boat and he got to talking to somebody, having a conversation, friendly conversation. And from the conversation, the person found out that Al-Bukhari had 1,000 dinars with him in the bag, and he even knew the color of the bag. So what does he do? What do you think he did? Your first reaction is that he stole it, right? No, he's a lot smarter than that. This is what he did. He waited until everyone was asleep, because they were traveling at night. Everyone was asleep, and he screamed at the top of his lungs, "Help me, help me, help me." Exactly. When they came out, what's wrong? I had 1,000 dinars in a bag that was red and described it to them. And I lost it. I need everyone in the boat searched. SubhanAllah. They started searching people. Al-Bukhari is stuck. What does he do? He takes that money, he throws it in the sea. He throws it in the sea, literally. They searched everyone. They found nothing. They almost beat him up for disturbing them. And they went back to sleep. So Al-Bukhari said, that guy came to Al-Bukhari, said, "Please, for the love of Allah, tell me, where did you hide? Where did you hide that money?" He said, "I didn't hide it." "Well, what did you do with it?" "I threw it in the sea." The guy was in shock. I cannot believe you threw a fortune. That's a fortune that you threw in the sea." He said, let me tell you. He said, "I spent my life collecting the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. I don't want it to ever be said that Al-Bukhari stole some money one day, because then nobody will take the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ from me. My credibility is worth a lot more than 1,000 dinars. SubhanAllah. This is the kind of person. This idea of doing this, if it's not fath from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I don't know what is. These people that Allah ta'ala gave knowledge and wisdom and you name it to them, subhanAllah. And you look at their biography and you understand why they had that kind of knowledge. Why they were like computers. Imam Shafi'i used to look at a page. He was looking at the right page. He covers the left page while looking at the right page. Because if he glimpses at the left page first, he will memorize it first before the right page. And subhanAllah, one day, and I just wanted to pause for a minute and compare it to our lives and what our eyes see when we go to Publix and Walmart and those places. Nasallallahu al-afwa al-afiyah. He was out in the street, just leaving from the masjid, going to the house, and this woman was walking and the wind took up a little of her abaya, and he saw just her ankle. That's all he saw. And he could not memorize anymore. Now go back to what I said. Imagine us living in this country, what we see. SubhanAllah. That's why personally I like to avoid going to any places where people buy any kind of stores in Ramadan, because I don't need to say that. Anyways, he goes to his Shaykh Waqi', rahimahullah ta'ala, and he said, "Ya Waqi', I can't memorize anymore." He said, "This is what happened. I saw the ankle of a woman by accident and I can't memorize anymore." So he told him, he gave him a very nice advice that remained to the generations. قال له رحمه الله تعالى وقال: شكوت إلى وكيع سوء حفظي فأرشدني إلى ترك المعاصي وقال لي إن العلم نور ونور الله لا يهدى لعاصي. I didn't translate it, it's not going to sound so nice, but he said, I complained to Wakir that my poor memorization. So he directed me towards leaving the sins and transgressions. And he said to me that the knowledge is a light, and the light of Allah is not given to a transgressor. Nurullahi la yuhda li'asi. I'll give you another example of fath. Any one of you heard of Khuzaymah ibn Thabit? Khuzaymah ibn Thabit. Very important personality. He's a Sahabi, but a Sahabi that had something that none of the Sahaba had, even the ones that were before him and more famous than him. Khuzaymah ibn Thabit, radiallahu anhu, to show you some
بالشهادتين.
أحسنت صاحب الشهادتين. His testimony, the Prophet ﷺ made it so that his testimony counts for two, counts double. And this is the reason why. حديث أخرجه أبو داود عن عمارة بن خزيمة عن عمه قال أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ابتاع فرسا من أعراب. ما معنى ابتاع؟ أي اشترى فرسا من أعرابي. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم bought this horse from a Bedouin. فاستتبعه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ليقضيه. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم told him to follow him. He said, follow me so I can get you the money, so I can pay you the money. أن يقضيه ثمن الفرس. فأسرع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم المشي وأبطأ الأعرابي. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم walked faster, and the Arabi was lagging behind him. فطفق رجال يعترضون الأعرابية فيساومونه بالفرس. So people, while he's lagging behind, people saw they will see the horse, they like the horse, they stop him. Hey, how much for the horse? First one, second one, many people did the same thing, they stopped him for the horse. So obviously the person saw that there could be a BD for him out there, bigger, better deal. So, subhanallah. وهم لا يشعرون ولم باب إنصاف الراوي وهم لا يشعرون أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ابتاعه. But they don't know that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم already bought the horse. فنادى الأعرابي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. تعلمون أن الأعراب عندهم غلظة وقلة أدب. يا محمد, they don't have any courtesy as a courtesy that you're supposed to use to address the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. So the Arabi said to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, إن كنت مبتاعا هذا الفرس وإلا ابتعته. Are you buying this horse or should I sell it to somebody else? Subhanallah. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أوليس قد ابتعته منك? Didn't I just buy it from you? فقال العربي لا والله ما بعتك. No, by Allah, I did not sell it to you. He changed his mind already, subhanallah. فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم بلى قد ابتعته منك. He said, certainly I bought it from you. They started going back and forth. Subhanallah. فقال خزيمة ابن ثابت رضي الله عنه أنا أشهد أنك قد بايعته. I bear witness that you actually يا رسول الله that you bought it from him. فأخبر النبي انظر لهذه. Listen to, pay attention to this one. أخبر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال يا خزيمة بما تشهد. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم did not let it go because it's his own, he is involved in the situation. It's a horse that he's about to lose. He just let it go. No, he said, Khuzaymah, what are you bearing witness? What is your testimony for? You were not there. How can you testify? قال رضي الله عنه بتصديقك يا رسول الله. I testified to the fact that you tell the truth. وفي رواية يا رسول الله أشهد على خبر السماء يأتيك أفلا أشهد على فرس ابتعته من أعرابي. So I bear witness to the revelation of Allah coming to you. You think I'm going to have trouble witnessing to a horse that subhanallah you bought from a Bedouin? This is فجعل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم شهادته كشهادة رجلين. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم made it so that his testimony is like the testimony of two people. Now, where did that come up handy? What was it coming handy? Ahsan. When the Quran was being collected, and the hadith is a little long, but I'll just give you an idea. Maybe we'll talk about this hadith tomorrow. When the Quran was being collected, when Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, along with Umar, and they decided to collect the Quran, because the Quran was written from day one. The Prophet ﷺ, whenever he receives revelation, he will call his scribes. They are right. Is it time for the adhan? Okay, he will call his scribes and they'll write. But they will write on pieces of skin of animals, on rocks, on bones. They didn't have any paper. That's what they write, and they have that stuff laying around all over the place. In the Futuhat, where the Sahaba were away from Al-Madinah, some of them, they started disputing about some ayat, some words of the ayat. So one of the Sahaba came to the Prophet ﷺ وقال له الحق هذه الأمة. I need to do something to save this ummah from losing the Quran. Who's the Sahaba? Who's the Sahabi who used always to think far ahead, afraid of the fitna? The Sahabi was always afraid. He said, people used to ask the Prophet about good things, I'll ask him about bad things. You're getting warm, Huh? Abu Jahl is not a Sahabi. He is not a Sahabi. So, the Sahabi was always looking far ahead. He said people used to ask the Prophet about good things. Huh? They asked the Prophet about good things. I would ask him about bad things out of fear that these things will reach me, will come to me. Huh? Hudayfa bin Yaman. So Hudayfa heard them, and he came back to Abu Bakr and Umar and said, we have to do something. So he gathered the scribes and Zayd ibn Thabit and others for them to collect the Quran, subhanAllah. And there was one ayah, and every ayah, everyone that brought an ayah needed two witnesses, subhanAllah. Except for one ayah they were stuck with, and subhanAllah, this Sahabi his testimony was enough. So subhanAllah, this Sahabi له منقبة عنده هذه المنقبة التي أعطاه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. And that particular ayah, whenever it is recited, that he will get rewarded for it, for that chain of narration, until the day of judgment, inshallah. If we'll talk about it more in details, inshallah ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make you enough from the ones that are truthful in their testimonies. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make you and I true followers of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. الحمد لله رب العالمين وجزاكم الله خيرا.